Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for being here. It's so nice to see your faces.
Yeah, okay, I'm gonna start. I'm gonna take over for a second. While I'm letting people in, we're gonna watch a little slideshow and then a process video. So we'll see you all in a little bit.
Monica!
Hi, all of you. It's so good to see you.
We're just allowing everyone to get into the room. So just give us a few minutes, enjoy this slideshow, and then we'll get started in a couple minutes.
Mute myself.
All right.
Hello, everyone.
Thank you.
I just want to take a moment to say it's so great to see all of you. I miss you so much. It's so wonderful to see faces from all over, my family, my art family. So, okay.
And here's to all you guys for joining us here today. In Italy, it's so nice. There are some silver linings to the pandemic, and this is one of them, that we are able to actually see inside an artist's creative space. And thank you, Monica, for letting us come into your studio and to talk with us about what you've been doing in the last year. And at this point, I'd like to introduce Giuliana Benassi and Monica Lundy. This, of course, is Monica. And Giuliana, can you unmute yourself and say a few words?
Yeah, hello to everyone.
Giuliana is a very accomplished curator of contemporary art. She lives in Rome. And I first met Giuliana with Monica last year, exactly about 1 year ago, right now. We all gathered in Rome to see an exhibition of Monica's work that Giuliana had curated. And Giuliana was also, and still is, an art advisor for the American Academy in Rome, and has curated several very significant exhibitions throughout Italy in which she focuses on site-specific artworks. So Giuliana has written books and curated exhibitions that particularly take a space and integrate artwork that has a specific connection with that space. So when I went when Michael and I both went with Giuliana and Monica to see Monica's show in Rome last year, Giuliana had curated this exhibition in a mental institution, a former mental institution, mental hospital. And the images that Monica had created to go in this exhibition were images of the women who had actually been locked up in that particular institution. So it has great meaning for me that we're able to gather right now, 1 year after we first met in Rome, when we were running all around looking at artist studios and looking at art spaces. Now we find ourselves on different sides of the world, unable to visit each other physically by getting on an airplane, but still having pursued the same art practices that we were talking about a year ago when we first met. And that's what gave us the idea to have this conversation today, because I feel that for each of the three of us, our art practices, our respective art practices, have kept us inspired and happy and hopeful during this very unusual time. And I'd like to share that experience and talk about it with some of our collectors and art family members. So I guess now I'd like to move on to talking about what it was that had occurred when we did first meet each other last year in Rome. Monica and I were scheduled to be in China in early December for an amazing exhibition that we were greatly anticipating of Hung Lu's work in Beijing. And it was, what was it, Hung? Was it December 6th that we were supposed to be in Beijing? But as the world was beginning to change and things were beginning to get incredibly bizarre, Hung Lu's work was censored. And her exhibition was not allowed to happen. They would not allow her paintings to enter China because they were too dangerous. And
she's a dangerous woman.
She is a dangerous woman. So that we took as a sign that we should still gather, and we should still gather and celebrate Hung Lu's dangerous power. And so Michael and I decided to go to San Francisco as if we were going to China, and meet with Hung Lu and a group of curators, including Dorothy Moss. Dorothy, are you here? Maybe she'll be here later. But anyway, we were going to get together with a group of curators to celebrate Hung Lu's work. And then we went on, we were en route to see Monica's exhibition that Giuliana had curated in Rome. And we stopped in France to see a very important sculpture by a woman who was Rodin's muse named Camille Claudel, who many of you know. And we realized that Camille Claudel had been censored already 150 years earlier. She had been censored for the same reason that Hung Lu and that all the women that Monica was depicting in her artwork were censored, because she was disobedient or too loud or promiscuous. So this made us realize, we went to visit the institution where Camille Claudel had been locked up for the last 35 years of her life. And we realized that we were somehow on an international tour of censored women without realizing it. And that the fact that women's artwork had been censored through time and space over the centuries made us want to fight against that. And a fire started burning inside of us that, okay, I'm going to take this issue on and I am going to fight for women artists' voices to be heard. So we ended up in Rome in the incredible company of Giuliana and Monica, and we got to see this beautiful exhibition that Giuliana had curated. And the images were all of these women. Monica had burned their images into paper or painted their images on porcelain. And they were hanging in the mental hospital where they had been incarcerated during fascist Italy. So they had returned back to the place that had held them prisoner. And what I'd like to talk about today is, after experiencing that incredible realization that there is a travesty in the art world, that women artists are shut down throughout time and space, we want to take this opportunity to talk about how we have all pursued our independent missions of correcting that during this time that we've had in isolation. So we wanted to open up the discussion, first of all, for Monica and Giuliana. Last time we spoke, about, I don't know, 2 or 3 weeks ago, you guys were talking about a book project that you have going on, that you've been working on since the pandemic started. And can you say a few words about that? I'm going to mute myself, and you guys tell us a little bit about how you've occupied yourself with that practice.
Well, I will start by saying this time last year, when we were all in Rome, and it was we had such a wonderful time together. We went around and saw artist studios, lunch, dinner, fabulous, and visited the former psychiatric hospital that was Santa Maria della Pietà. The exhibition was at Museo Laboratorio della Mente. And that exhibition was based on research that I did in their archives. And together with Giuliana, we selected what works should go where, and the exhibition actually took place inside the hospital. The museum is built into one of the buildings of the hospital. So it was very much a site-specific exhibition. And shortly after that exhibition, I kept returning to their archives and to the museum there, and I began doing little burn drawings, objects from their pharmacy. So antique objects from the pharmacy. And you know, I continued that practice. I traveled back to California. I came back to Italy in February, right when COVID began breaking out here. And 3 weeks after I arrived, we entered our first lockdown. And during that time, I continued the burn drawings as a daily practice. And during that time, also, Giuliana approached me, and she talked about how in this moment in time, our abitudine, our ritual of going out to experience work, going out to see artworks, it all has to become internal. We have to do it in a different way because the world has changed. And she proposed that this is a great time to work on a book of my work from the last 10 years, and really to take this time to focus on writing and composing a book and images, and she had some very good ideas about how to go about doing that. Giuliana, I'll let you talk more about that. I think you're muted.
Yeah, okay, I'm here. So I'd like to share with all of you some reflection on Monica's work. Because I think that this kind of project, the book project, start from a deep reflection on this this particular moment. So the global situation has imposed a reflection on the meaning of art. And I think that it's like standing in front of a mirror to ask to the soul. And I think that Monica's work are very, very close to this kind of approach. So I think that we are living in a moment in which our eyes are the only thing that can remain uncovered, and the gaze seems to be the only source to access the world. And the artwork, so only the artwork could be like something that can answer some question, I think. And inside the work of the authentic artist, there is like a mystery of a great humanity. And I think that there is like a deepest vibration that can profuse in our lives. This is like an introduction to talk about the book because the Monica's work is like a way to work in a different way. In this moment, I have therefore the opportunity to reread more deeply the works of Monica Lundy. So the painting that I define in this moment, human specific, because the faces, objects, architecture, animals that Monica paints make me think of loneliness. So I think that this is a word very strong in this moment. Loneliness, solitudine in Italiano, is what we are living now. But at the same time, I think that in this peculiar moment, an artwork could become like a compagno di viaggio. Compagno di viaggio in italiano, I think that in English could be like a presence, like a friend, like something that that a person that can walk like in the same way of life. And on this approach, as Tonya said, that I usually work on site-specific installation, and so every time I'm looking for new places to work with artists and make site-specific work. And I also co-founded a project called There Is No Place Like Home in Rome, and it's like a project of traveling exhibitions, like a nomadic project, and every time I choose a different location to make exhibition. So this is because another thing that is important in this time is the home. So there is a great metaphor of the search for one's own home. And we are living a domestic life every day. So in this kind of vision, I overturn the idea of domestic space. So there is something that that is important to underline. So the inner place. Maybe the home could be an inner place, And on this vision, I think, and we think together with Monica and Tonya, that a book could be a good place in which to crystallize the Monica's work, to crystallize the stories behind the artworks of Monica, and also to create an object that can reach the domestic dimension, and that is also seen like a mental space. And I think that Monica's drawings with burns represent like a great work where the creative process that is the gesture of burning represent like the need to engrave, to not delete anything in the life. And at the same time, Monica pay attention to the details of everyday life. The keys, the vegetables or flowers, everything is like a semantic field to discover. And I think that is like an invitation to pay attention to everyday details. So this is like a suggestion to talk about the way in which we are working on this book, just to give the opportunity to have a mental space and to offer a vision of the Monica's work.
So thank you, Giuliana. I would like to just contribute here what Giuliana is talking about, and what Tonya has been talking about, the burn drawings. I have, over the last few years, have been doing a series off and on of small burn drawings. The series began when I was an artist in residence at Montalvo Arts Center, part of their Lucas Artist Program. And I was working on a calendar. And I had a dream one night that, actually, this is how the calendar arrived. I had a dream that I was in a room full of installations of calendars, and every calendar was one month: September, October, November, December, and every day of the calendar was a separate piece of paper with a drawing on it. And I woke up from that dream, and I spoke to the curator there, Donna Conwell, and I told her about this dream, and I said that it was such a beautiful idea. It's too bad I didn't have it. I don't know. I didn't feel like it was my idea. And she said, it's a wonderful idea. Let's do it. And so I launched into this, doing a botanical calendar for an exhibition there. And it really turned into a daily meditation. Every day I would reflect, or I would just sense what kind of image feels appropriate for that day. And I would go out in nature, and I would take something from nature: a leaf, a flower, a stick, pine cones, and I would do a burn drawing, and that would be the drawing of the day. And I compiled a calendar, but that practice actually continued through my life from that point, especially during times of hardship, because I found that it was a way for me in any situation to find my center, as a kind of meditation, a kind of visual meditation. And I took that practice up again when I came to Rome. in 2017, I came to Rome, to the American Academy in Rome as an artist in residence there. And being at the American Academy was wonderful. It was a transformative time in my life. It was a frightening and wonderful time in my life at the same time. And after I left the academy, I decided to stay in Rome, and I had an apartment there. And boy, I found myself not speaking the language very well. I felt very isolated. I felt like I was in a place far away from home. It was a really difficult time, and I took up this calendar of days again, these burn drawings. And it really became a reflection on place, a reflection on a moment in time that was difficult, a reflection on how no matter where I am, I have my hands with me. And my hands as an artist is a way for me to find my center. And that's really another thing about loneliness. I think that loneliness is a very familiar thing for a lot of artists, a lot of visual artists, also musicians, writers. We often work alone. And from that, a work is born in the studio. You know, we spend a lot of time alone, working with an image, working with an idea, struggling with it, and the relationship goes from our relationship as artists to work to then the curator's relationship with the work, and the curator brings it out into the world. And then there's the audience who sees it, and the collectors who decide to have a deeper relationship with that work and take the work home with them. And, you know, I heard a metaphor once that was really lovely about art, that a work of art is like a person. If you meet them at a cocktail party and you spend 2 minutes talking to them, you're not going to see very much. But if you live with them, you're going to learn a lot more, and it's going to constantly be a relationship that opens, that evolves. And that's very true. A work of art is that. It's something. It's an object that's not just an object. It's almost a being that has been born in a studio, imbued with energy in a time, in a place, a particular moment, particular energy. And when you live with a work of art, I feel like it can change along with your life. The longer you live with it, and no matter how your life changes, you see things differently in the piece of art. It's almost like you begin to have a dialogue. It reveals different things to you. And that's getting back to the concept of artists working in loneliness, this moment in the world where everybody feels so isolated and so alone. You know, I found myself reading a book called The Lonely City by Olivia Lang. And she talks specifically about what it means to be alone, the different dimensions of loneliness, how you can be alone in a city, how you can be alone in a group of people, how the different qualities of what it means to be lonely, and how she began researching this landscape of what it means to be lonely. And she went to art. She said she began this love affair with art because it was a way it was a comfort, it was a companion. And she began looking at artists who operate from a point of view of loneliness. Edward Hopper, Henry Darger, Billie Holiday, you know, I mean, so many artists who create from this place of loneliness, but then contribute their work to the world in a way to provide comfort. So, so loneliness is a very, a multi-layered labyrinth. It's a city, it's a multi-dimensional, it's a landscape. We live there, a lot of us are living there right now, but somehow it can also bring us together, you know? I mean, look at what Zoom has done, for example. It's provided a service in bringing people together that are otherwise almost completely isolated. So anyhow, that is how the burn drawings began. And I have a number of little burn drawings here.
Yeah. Can you show them to us?
Yeah. So I have a selection of burn drawings from, some are from when I first moved to Italy. So this, for example, is December 31st, 2017. So it was New Year's, and it was on the back, I wrote ending a very difficult year. And this was done here in northern Italy in Pordenone, where I am now. This, I love this one. This was a cassette tape of Pavarotti, done on February 10th. Can you see the images okay?
Yes.
Okay, this is January 14th. This was done at a hot spring on my birthday. It's a pair of scissors. And so those were images from when I first moved to Italy. And then, as I said, I began doing them again during the first lockdown. So this is 16. This is, I love this one. This is March 23rd, which was day 16 of our first lockdown here in Italy. And this is done, you can kind of see it's done on two pieces, like the torn piece of paper in the middle. It's very subtle. I was using the corkscrew a lot those days. Then there's this one, a little, what was this, 5, 10, 15. This was the day 19 of lockdown. A little glass. And again, this one has a torn piece of paper going through it. That's very subtle. And then I have a number of larger pieces. So this is also from lockdown. This was a little branch from a cherry blossom tree outside of the house where I've been staying during this time. And so I'll try to go closer so you can see a little better. So it became very much that the little objects really gave meaning to life. You've seen this one because this was the promotional piece. Let's see if I get it. Is it backwards? Let's see. Is it that? It's that way. This is an artichoke that I did in Rome, January 8th and 9th. And then this is a set of keys to my apartment in Rome. This is February 18th and 19th. So again, when things are difficult, I find myself just really studying little objects as a way to, it's really a meditation It's really a meditation and a way to make me feel more connected with place, a way to make me feel more in tune with this moment, whether it's difficult, whether it's a good day, a bad day, a confusing day. Because no matter where I go, no matter what is happening around me, being able to work brings me back to my center, back to who I am. And in the end, I guess that is home.
I love that. I feel the same way. This is what I wanted us to talk about today, is how you are, your meditative practice as the artist is to create something, to put it out into the world. But it's almost like being a person. The analogy would be if you were a person who walks around in the streets and never says hello to anyone, right? That's what a piece of art is if there's not someone to communicate back to them, right? The experience of art exists in the exchange between the viewer and the artist. And so that's what's kept me sane and inspired during this last almost year, is my ability to look at a piece of art and be moved somehow inside myself in a way that allows me to experience a perception that I've never had before. Art to me stretches my perceptive ability in a way that nothing else can. And so I wanted to open it up to everyone on this call today to consider, how does art do that for you? Because it's the most powerful tool I've found during this last year as a way to feel connected with the rest of humanity. And even though we can't travel to see each other in person, we can communicate on a somatic level by experiencing someone else's creative output. So at this point, I'd like to open it up for questions for Monica and Giuliana. And also, if anyone would like to discuss, how they have their art practice during the last year has helped them get through this time of solitude in a positive way.
Well, I think that one thing I can say on behalf of most artists, and I'm especially thinking of Hung right now, who we've had discussions about during when there is a lockdown, when you cannot, go out, when your life is affected in this way. In fact, the studio is always a sanctuary. But uninterrupted studio time is really golden. We love it. We love it. So in a way, I think a lot of artists of all people are surviving emotionally this difficult time thanks to the studio,
I know Stephen would like to ask a question. Stephen, can you unmute yourself?
I did.
Okay.
Hi, Monica. How are you? Hi, Hanglu. Hi, Giuliana. Hi, Leah.
hello.
Hi, everybody. I just wanted to say, Monica, that in the last few months, I've been in a situation where I'm living in a place that there is nobody around. And so I've gone back into the studio, and there's those points where you're like, God, this is really lonely. It's really quiet. And so I've been working the last month or more in the studio and kind of creating these companions, from my head. And it's really kind of embraced me in a really positive way. And I feel that I'm not alone, And I understand, you know, especially with the artist, how we do spend a lot of our time alone. But I think this has been a good opportunity to get people to do things that they would normally not do. And so I've been working more than I ever have in my career, and really enjoying it. You know, it's an amazing thing. So thank you for that comment. Is that really?
Yeah, I think there's something about this moment that even though it's difficult, as you said, when we're in the studio a lot and creating a lot, we gain an energy.
Yeah.
It brings us an energy, a positive energy. We're productive, we're experimenting. It's a very fertile time.
It is.
It doesn't have to just be a lonely time. It can be a very fertile and exciting time in the studio, I think.
Yeah, I think
so. I'm happy to hear that you decided to create companions, and that's going well for you.
Yeah, it is.
That's Thank you.
Can I say something? Okay. Monica's is a wonderful artist, not just that she is she's a great painter, but what I just want to say a few things about your burning drawing. I feel like you, no matter you did a leaf and cassette or artichoke, anything, but you talk about it like a daily meditation. I felt that's a ritual. As an artist, you constantly, you don't have to remind yourself, but you practice in a very, Giuliana talk about the mental space, but you transformed from your mental space to a piece of tangible physical work. And I remember years ago, there are a couple of times I was in a remote ranch in New Mexico. Once they happened to brand the cattle. You burn, you know, has to be so hot. And it was a painful process. You can see the, you know, the cows screaming, and it's a burning. It's a burning. You could smell. But I think burning something, it's both painful, but also forever. You know, there's forever ownership too. There are many layers. I watched that, but my background from in China, we made the so-called temple money, fake money, and we burned, sent to the dead, our loved ones in another world. So I think burning something is a transformation. It's you build a bridge between this world and some other worlds, maybe more than one dimension. So I felt this, regardless of what the subject is, but I think burning a drawing, burning an image, is such a very, what I say, both very rich, but also very physical and the whole mental, engagement with the piece. And your diary, your daily meditation, your ritual, your mental and the physical space. So I really love all those drawings, and I am so looking forward to a book. Giuliana, talk about that book. And because many years you work, you do research, and not you walk, the actual miles, all that, I'm so happy for, and hope one day we can really see each other, not through Zoom. But congratulations. I mute myself now.
Thank you, Hong. Thank you. Hong is very special to me. My former painting professor and dear companion, and Hung, I agree. I think that burning has a much deeper significance. There's also the idea of instead of adding material, actually carbonizing material, burning away material to make an image. It's not additive, it's subtractive.
It's like creation through destruction.
Yeah. It has so many different connotations, burning. Mm. Yeah.
And we have Tokwe has something to add. Thank you, Tokwe. Unmute yourself, and I'm going to mute myself.
Hi there. Hi. Oh, I'm so excited for your book, and this has been just a wonderful way to start my day or start my afternoon. I'm just coming at you from a collector, and during this time of isolation, and I live alone with my two dogs, thank God. I have them. But I've had a reconnection with some of my art because I've moved everything around. I had to get some paintings that were in the back bedrooms that I loved but hadn't really seen. And I mean, I see them, but I didn't see them for during this time. So I've moved my art around and have reconnected with some of the pieces that had so much meaning to me when I first bought them. And they've always had meaning to me, but I've just had this just reconnection and sort of a new energy, a new life in my house by just moving art around. So that's sort of been my my saving grace during this time. It's just revisiting what I have and being joyful for that. So I'm grateful for that. So that's all I had. Thank you.
Thank you. That's
you.
wonderful. I think that's a wonderful way to revitalize energies in the home. You know, revisit your collections, spend more time with the images. As I said, I feel that each piece of art, each work is almost a being. It has a lot to offer. It has a lot to reveal to you, you know, but one has to spend time. One has to live with it, spend time with it, and then it just keeps revealing. So that's in this time, it's really important. That's wonderful. Thank you.
And it's also scientifically proven that change is one of the things that creates the brain chemicals that produce happiness in a person. So change is actually a documented good thing to do for your well-being. And now Theo Lundy has a question. So go ahead and unmute.
Hi. Yeah. Monica, your work has been based on going to various archives and exploring the images of people who have been incarcerated there, mainly women. And now you're being isolated, and this is, as you say, a transformative time. I'm wondering how you envision, once we're all vaccinated and safe to go out and around, how your work will change. What kind of a future do you see in terms of investigation and exploration?
That's a good question. What do I think will happen with the work once I can move around more? I think that's thanks, Dad, for that question, by the way. I think one thing about the way I work, about work in general, I don't know how far we can plan in advance for inspiration, no? It's something that really, it changes constantly. I've even had the experience where I've planned this elaborate installation, and then as soon as the materials arrive to do it, I've lost the inspiration and I have to go on to something else. I don't know. I don't know. You know, I will say that right now, what I'm working on in the studio, which is I'm working on an upcoming exhibition at Turner Carroll Gallery, which will be at in September of 2021. And that exhibition is based on a lot of the research I've been doing over the last 10 years of people who have been institutionalized in psychiatric hospitals. Research that I've done in London, here in Italy, in California. And so I'm working on a whole new body of work for that. And it's interesting that during this moment where we're all confined to specific spaces, where it's really difficult psychologically, I actually feel that working with this subject matter is very poignant right now. I'm working with portraits of people who were confined against their will to small spaces. They had no liberties. I'm working on portraits of buildings that house these people. So in a way, I feel like this time, this moment, where I occasionally feel like I can't take it, I'm too stressed, I'm losing my mind, I put that energy back into the work, and it feels like I'm connecting with my subject matter. It feels very appropriate for right now. So that's interesting. What will happen after? I have no idea. But that's part of the excitement, no? We just keep going ahead. We see what happens next.
Thank you, Monica. And can you show us some of the images that you're beginning? If you feel comfortable doing that, I know they're in process.
Okay. Some, no, too many of them are just the bones, but I will give you a sneak peek of one image in particular. It is, I don't usually like to show work that's not ready for eyes yet, but this is a special occasion. And so you all have to understand that what you see might change. So this is one of the pieces that I'm preparing for the exhibition next year at Turner Carroll. And this piece is about 7 by 7 feet. And this, I'm gonna show you from far away, because it's very different far away than it is up close. This is, I call it a portrait of one of the hospital buildings at Santa Maria della Pietà in Rome. And so this is one of the buildings that's since been abandoned, boarded up. And this process is done with liquid porcelain. So it's a very specific material that I have spent months creating the recipe for. It's a very labor-intensive process. So as you'll see, the material, I mean, it's porcelain. It's like a sculpture. So it cracks. And I feel like this cracking is very poetic for the subject matter. You know, there's so many metaphors with sanity, insanity.
Yeah, it has an immediate feeling of what was on the inside of the building and on the inside of the people's minds in the building. Yeah.
And then also, yeah, but I mean, this building, because it's been decommissioned, because it's been abandoned, that it has doorways that go to brick walls, that it has doorways where you can't even access, you know, windows boarded up. It's very poetic. So that's your sneak peek at what will be some of the work for the exhibition at Turner Carroll next year.
Monica, this is Michael. Did do you guys have the same kind of crollare, like like when you crack up? Is it parallel? You know how it is in English, like to crack and then crack mentally.
That would be a question for Giuliana. Giuliana, crollare.
Michael, yes, crollare is something that is broken, something that is like fall down, maybe. Fall
Deteriorating.
out, deteriorating, exactly. And I was thinking while Monica was showing the details of this new artwork that there is a connection, a link between the burning and this kind of crepe crux. And I think that it's a very meaningful, it's a metaphor or this kind of tale, because I think that Monica in her artworks is talk about history, about human being, about through an architecture as well, through a building. She's described a very hidden feeling that we human being have inside. Is like a metaphor, and I think that there is like a line through your artworks because Monica can play together with a peculiar technique as porcelain or fire, and at the same time he translates her personal vision on the history, on this kind this sad history through a new kind of painting as well. So there is like a I want to say that the use of porcelain, of crepe or fire is very connected with the subject that Monica want to painting. As she calls portrait, and I think this is meaningful. I think that is like important important detail of your work.
Thank you, Giuliana. And I guess it's about time for us to wrap up, but I wanted to first, someone was asking about the book and how the drawings relate to the book that we were showing. And as part of the collaborative process in creating a dialogue between artist, artwork, viewer, and curator or art critic, we decided it would be very appropriate to offer just a few of the drawings that Monica was showing in the beginning in the slideshow, and that you can also see on the link that I put in the chat here, so copy that. And what we're doing is we're allowing the collectors and viewers to help create the book. And the way you can do that is to purchase one of the burn drawings that are on the link that I listed, and that will be your collaborative contribution to producing the book. So if you do that by December 1st, we will be able to get the drawing to you by about the December 20th. And then we will send the book to you when it is completed, which will be within the next year. So if you would like to do that, please go to the link that I provided in the chat, or you can also contact the gallery directly at any time. or Monica or Giuliana, any of us, and we will help make that happen for you. And again, it's been such an honor to see you all today. Thank you for joining us. And cheers to all of us. Yes.
Thank you everyone for being here. It's such a pleasure to see you. I see all of your photos and I'm so happy you're all here.
And
Salute, salute a tutti.
Salute.
Da Roma.
Bye. Ciao.
Sending love. Ciao, ciao.
Love you, Monica.
Love you.
Ciao, Cucina.
Ciao, belle.
Congratulations, Monica.
Oh, Danny. Ciao.
Love you.
Mwah.
I love you. I miss you so
Hope
much.
to see you at your opening.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Okay.
Thank
love.
Nice meeting you, Giuliana.
Nice to meet you. See you soon.
Yeah, see you. Bye.
That's great.
Stay in bed. Don't get out of bed. It's not worth it.